Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Wednesday, National Cream Filled Donut Day. Oh my God, who does not love a cream filled donut? Tell me down in the comments, what's your favorite? Yeah, all right, 3 trials to update you on today. All 3 trials, oh my goodness, stay tuned. Hey everybody, Crafting Journey here, that journey chick on Instagram. I haven't posted on Instagram in a while. I need to do that. And the leftovers on my other channel where I do garage sailing, estate sales. It's that channel is to support my fun employment business. Yes, where I am reselling undervalued items for a profit on eBay. So, how is everybody today? Please hit the like button today. He's going to go with me to Goodwill and help me shop. It's Wednesday, 20% off if you have the card. But I'm going to be very careful about what I buy because I have so much merchandise I still have to list. I'm starting to catch up. I'm almost there. Now I'm going to be getting into the clothing. I have lots of clothing I need to list. I listed some shoes last night. Right away I sold a pair of boots. And I sold a backpack that I had. Now, I just need these people to pay for these items. This seems to be a very common thing where they offer you money and you accept the offer and they don't pay you. I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, I'll just relist it if it doesn't sell, you know, whatever. I think this is one of those things that just takes time to build. I did learn a very valuable lesson yesterday. The post office does not like liquor boxes. You cannot ship in a liquor box. Who knew? So she also cautioned me that you should not use boxes that have had any kind of cleaner in them, cleaning products. Didn't know that either. So I'm going to be on the lookout from now on for boxes because I don't want to have to go buy boxes. You know, I'm spending enough money as it is. So I cleaned out and listed all the cherished teddies are now listed on eBay under my eBay link. I'll put that down in the description if I remember. And I used the box that they were in. I put them in a different box because they were in a very large box to ship the item that I need to ship today. So another trip to the post office. They're getting to know me there. Oh, here comes Rebecca with the wrong box. Hi, baby girl. Good morning. Okay, Tootsie is here. She is visiting us. She has graced us with her presence. So today the light pad is going to work because I have everything plugged in here. All my gaming stuff. If you have missed the last 2 nights, oh my God, they've been so much fun. I have been streaming a walkthrough of Disney's Dreamlight Valley. And so far my opinion is it's a little juvenile, but it's fun. So what the heck, right? You know, that's what fun employment's all about. Doing what you want, when you want, and streaming fun games. So tune in for part 3 tomorrow night. Tonight I will be doing Craft With Me Wednesday, the show that I've been doing for 3 years. That'll be at 6 p.m. Central Time. I have not decided on a craft. I'm thinking crochet. Oh, maybe cross stitch. I'm going to do like a little floss tube. Would you guys like a floss tube? I haven't done a floss tube in forever. Yeah, I'll show you I'll show you the Haid patterns that I've got and I want to plan to work on, you know, in the future. I'll show you one that was sent to me recently and we'll talk about cross stitch. But if you're not into cross stitching, please come anyway, because we just have a good time. It's, you know, whatever I'm doing is, you know, not that big of a deal. We're just going to chit chat. So let's talk about these three trials. Okay, the first trial, which is the George Wagner IV trial. He has been charged with murdering the 8 members of the Roden and Gilly family. So I have done a video on the entire background of that story. If you have not seen it and you want to get caught up, I will put the link there to that video. Yesterday there was 5 witnesses put on. Now, I explained in a couple of videos the judge's recent ruling, and that is that each witness can opt out of being filmed. Even though this is a public hearing and the media did litigate this quite intently, the individual witnesses can come in and say, no, I don't want to be filmed. Then the next question is, do you want to be on audio? And they can say yes or no. So yesterday we had this whole build up of, the jury coming, the two sides argue. They always start off in the morning with, these little petty discovery arguments, blah, 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 blah. And then they bring in the jury like 30 minutes later. So they bring the jury in, and the first witness is called to the stand, and the camera goes off. So 5 witnesses yesterday, and I believe 3 of them opted out. Yep. So the first 2 were individuals that located or discovered the dead bodies. Okay, a woman by the name of Bobby Jo Manley, who was Dana's sister. Dana, I need a chart to show you guys. Chris Roden Sr. was married to Dana, but they divorced, but they were all living on the same street. Chris lived with his brother, Gary, and Dana lived with their children, Chris Jr., Hannah, and Hannah's child. So Bobby Jo comes over with her friend, Billy Morgan, and they were being paid to feed the animals on Chris Roden's property. They come over and they see, first thing, that there are 2 dogs outside sitting on the front porch. These are indoor dogs. And they're like, why are they outdoors? So they go in and they check and they find the bodies of Chris Roden and Gary, his brother, at the foot of the bed, and they both have been shot. Now, I know from argument that occurred before the cameras went off that they were going to show graphic photos of the bodies to the jury and to the people in the courtroom. Not us. It doesn't matter. These 2 witnesses opted out of being filmed. Chris Roden Sr. was shot in the face 6 times, and then once in the chest and once in the stomach. That's a little overkill, I think. Wow. It's like somebody just dumped every round of their gun into Chris Roden. Wow. So, a 911 tape where Bobby, Dana's sister, calls 911 to report what she finds was played for the jury. And there is a woman in the pews, in the audience, the gallery, so to speak, who is like the patriarch of this Roden family, the matriarch of this Roden family. And she is surrounded by loved ones, and she's been very stoic, but she did break down during the 911 call. It was a little bit too much. You could see her wiping tears from her eyes. Now, George Wagner's defense team questioned these 2 individuals, Dana's sister and her friend, about, did you know anything about the cockfighting that was going on? Did you know anything about the marijuana grow houses? So trying to, sort of taint the victims, how are you putting all this on the victims? Yeah, they were not nice people. None of these people were nice people. The Wagners weren't nice people. The Rodens weren't nice. They were all criminals. Yes, they had a grow house. They had cockfighters, But these 2 witnesses said, nope, we don't know anything about it. Nope, we don't know a thing. The next witnesses were Dana's brother, a deputy, and an EMT. I believe James, Dana's brother, did allow himself to be filmed. But so I was actually watching the Alex Jones trial. So a lot of this information that I'm getting to you is from reporters that were in the courtroom. The deputy testified, he, as a first responder to the scene. The EMT testified as the first responder to the scene as to what they found. It is expected that Jake Wagner and Angela Wagner, the star witnesses that are already in jail, are expected to testify next week. They're not expected to take the stand this week. There's a lot of family members apparently that are going to be up on the stand. So far we've just gone through the discovery of the body of Chris and Gary. Two of the 8 victims. So what happened in the Nicolas Cruz case? Yes, that continues too, and I am also relying on reporters to tell me all about that because it is just way too boring to watch. They had the cross-examination of the neuropsychologist. Of course, being an expert, the prosecution, because it's a defense witness, the prosecution on cross-examination tried to make hay of his credentials. You don't have this, you don't have that. Well, board certification, you're not board certified. No, I'm not. It's optional. You don't have to be board certified. The thing that they were really making a big deal out of it is, why didn't you film your examination of Nicolas Cruz? And he says, I opted not to. And then there was some argument outside the presence of the jury about whether that was necessary, or there was a state law that says you have to, and that went back and forth. But in any case, I don't think it amounts to a hill of beans to the jury. I gotta assume that they're just tired of listening to it. Now, this is the neuropsychologist that says that Nicolas Cruz is suffering from fetal alcohol syndrome. Then their defense's next witness, also an expert in fetal alcohol syndrome, said that Nicolas was suffering from fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. I had to look up the name. Fetal, classic for babies that are born with fetal alcohol syndrome. Said that Cruz, without a doubt, had, and I'm going to read this to you, alcohol-related neurodevelopmental disorder, ARND, a condition under the fetal alcohol syndrome disorder umbrella. Who knew there was an umbrella? But there is. This expert who's has 50 years of experience in the field of fetal alcohol syndrome said that this was probably the worst case he's seen of a mother abusing alcohol during her pregnancy. Also cocaine. So he also testified that this syndrome can cause these individuals to commit murders. So today we expect a cross-examination of that particular witness. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the one that I actually did watch, Alex Jones. Oh my gosh, because it's so explosive. The Alex Jones, first of all, not there, not in the courtroom. Yeah, opted out. And there was an instruction to the jury that you should not make any assumptions or hold it against any of the plaintiffs or defendants for not being in the courtroom, because there's a lot of plaintiffs. Like I said, these are 8 different cases consolidated into one. Luckily, one set of attorneys, not multiple sets of attorneys, one set of attorneys. And so not every day are all those plaintiffs going to be in the courtroom, and not every day is Alex Jones going to be in the courtroom, and he wasn't there yesterday. I've heard that he is exhausted by all this litigation. So something I should have mentioned yesterday, and I failed to do that, is let me set the background for what is going on in this trial. Similar to what happened in the Texas case, Alex refused to cooperate with discovery. There were requests made by the plaintiff for different, his deposition, documents, things like that. And Alex just refused. He refused to appear for deposition, refused to give up documents. So because this was so egregious and went on for so long, just like in Texas, this judge entered a default judgment on the issue of liability. In other words, she said, I'm sanctioning you. I'm finding that you are liable, that you did defame these plaintiffs. That's not an issue in this trial, whether or not Alex Jones actually defamed all these plaintiffs. It's already been decided. Yes, he did, by saying Sandy Hook never happened and all the various things that he said against these particular plaintiffs. And we're going to talk about the FBI agent because this is an interesting one. We're only here to decide what are the damages. What's the damages? Yeah. The plaintiff attorney, he gets up and first thing he does is said, I'm not going to go through each individual plaintiff. You will see them on the stand, but I'm going to ask that everyone present in the courtroom please stand up. So they all stood up. I didn't get to see them, but they all stood up. Then the theme of his opening was that the amount of damages to these plaintiffs should reflect what a bully Alex Jones has been to these families that lost loved ones in this school shooting. That he had a business model of espousing these conspiracy theories to draw people to his various channels and internet. And then once they were there, he would sell them his products that would supposedly help them out with some of these conspiracies. And this was driving his profits. So by espousing these ridiculous Sandy Hook theories that it didn't occur, having all these so-called experts on about why it didn't occur and that these were crisis actors, all of that drew people to his channel and they all bought products. So he profited off of the defamation of these plaintiffs. One of the things that Alex maintained was that Sandy Hook was staged so that the government could take away our guns. Yes. Okay. Then the defense attorney gets up. Now this guy, he's got this long ponytail that's kind of pinched off at certain points. It's an interesting look. I don't know. And he's very pro Alex Jones. You can see that, he's probably even someone who's listened to the show and I don't know, probably espouses these theories himself. But a very good attorney. He starts out by saying that the plaintiffs have transformed their grief into political weapons, that each of these family members have found outlets for their grief. Some have formed organizations, some have spoke before Congress, some give speeches, but they've all transformed their grief into political weapons to shut down Alex Jones. Now, all during his opening, the plaintiff objected because he was saying these really crazy things. He was saying, let's talk about who hasn't been sued. Hillary Clinton mentioned Sandy Hook, and you're not suing Hillary Clinton. Objection, sidebar, sidebar. Okay. Then he comes back out. And this guy, so what this guy does is he does not stop his opening. He just continues on. The next thing he says is, who else hasn't been sued? Objection. So, sidebar. And the judge kept saying, knock it off. Knock it off. One more time, and I'm going to ask you to end your opening and sit down. One more time. So then he says, well, how many times did you see me object during his opening? Objection. Oh my God. So this judge, very short fuse with this lawyer. Very short fuse. So after this final little barb that he gets out there, he continues with his opening sort of uninterrupted, but he had to get these little barbs out there for the jury to hear. But he said, listen, Alex does, this is what he does. This is his shtick. If you don't like it, don't watch. Turn the channel. Just like everything else you watch. You don't have to watch Alex Jones. Alex Jones espouses some really crazy theories. And yes, they are to attract people to his channel so he can sell his products. That's not, it's freedom of speech. There's nothing wrong with that. He espouses a theory that chemicals in the water make frogs gay. Now, I was working when I heard that. I had to stop and go, what did he just say? Let me write that one down. What? Okay. Then he said, people eat babies to stay young. And the government is a bunch of pedophiles. These are things that Alex Jones talks about on his channel. Thank God I don't watch. Oh my God. Can you imagine? But do people, if it's not his fault if people believe him, it's not, some of it, we know it, of course it's not true. So the objections centered around the fact that, you've already been found liable. We're here on damages. You're supposed to talk about, that your company's not worth anything and that the plaintiffs didn't suffer any damages. And he said to the jury, listen, Alex has apologized for this. And he has apologized for this. He says, I was wrong. Sandy Hook is real. I apologize. He said that he's very weary of all the litigation and that he feels like he's just a whipping boy at this point. And he says what the plaintiffs are asking for is a verdict that silences Alex Jones. And then, then we get into the whole First Amendment, freedom of speech, things like that. So this, like I said, this judge has a very short fuse. So the day, even before these openings, started out with a motion for sanctions against the defense. Freedom of Speech LLC had Google Analytics. Alex had Google Analytics for every year going back to like 2012 when this first happened. So he gave up during discovery all of the Google Analytics through 2019, but the request said to the present, which means as the present occurs, you have a continuing obligation to give up these Google Analytics for each year thereafter, because this thing has drug on for years, 10 years. The plaintiffs have not received the Google Analytics from 2019 to the present. And they've asked for it numerous times. The plaintiff says it exists, but Alex doesn't rely on it. He doesn't use it. So we're not going to give it to you. So now the defense attorney, he gets up and he says, listen, I just learned about this Google Analytics. I apologize. I realize that, yes, it does exist. And I did, basically falling on his sword. I can't control my client. My understanding is they don't use this Google Analytics. It's there, but they don't use it. And I didn't realize that, we were supposed to give, playing dumb. So the judge sanctioned Alex Jones. Here is the sanction. You will not be allowed to argue that you did not profit from the defamation of these plaintiffs. That's huge. That's huge. So now, not only has he been found liable, he's also been found to have profited off of these plaintiffs. So that's going to be huge for the jury. They'll just have to decide what are the damages based on all that profit. Yeah. So interesting case. Because this judge, similar to the Texas case, she's got a very short fuse with this defense attorney because she's not playing. She's had enough with the discovery nonsense that led up to this actual trial. So let's talk about the first witness that is put on after the opening statements in the Alex Jones case. This is the FBI agent. Now, his name is Bill Altenberg. And I'm thinking, what in the world, does he have to do with all of this? Well, he is a member of the FBI SWAT team, and this particular day he's assigned to this area of Connecticut. And on this particular day, he and several of his fellow FBI agents were at the local law enforcement's shooting range practicing their shooting. When they have a doctor that always accompanies them wherever they go. And this doctor, who's also a member of the SWAT team, gets a call from an EMT and tells him about this shooting and says, we need you down at this shooting. So this doctor lets the FBI agents know, and then they finally, their commander says, we're going to respond over to this school. They did learn that there was an active shooter and that they should respond over to this school. So then this plaintiff starts to talk about this FBI agent, and the entire time, every time he gets close to proximity to talking about the school shooting, he starts to cry. It's tough to watch a grown man cry. He was crying. So a grown FBI agent man crying. So that particular day, he explains to the jury, we were all issued new Kevlar vests, and I was transferring all of my objects from one vest to another, and from the old to the new. And it was in the middle of that we get called over to this Sandy Hook active shooter. So he, instead of finishing up what he's doing, he just throws the rest of what he hasn't put on his new jacket into the car. He had already transferred his FBI badge to the new jacket. He throws all of that into the trunk of his car. When he gets to the scene, they all gear up. He puts on his old vest because he hasn't finished transferring everything to the new vest. Now, on this vest are various items, handcuffs, his badge, all this stuff. So this one doesn't have his badge on it because he already transferred it to the new vest. And I'm thinking to myself, what is all this got to do with anything? But it's very important. So at the time they arrived to the scene, it's about 30 minutes after the active shooter. It's no longer an active shooter situation. So they were asked to assist with clearing students out of the building. So they split up into teams, and his team goes in one direction, and the first thing he sees are the principal and the school psychologist, who are deceased. Then the first classroom that he goes into, and now he's like, they had to take a break, he was crying. He just kept saying it was awful, it was awful, it was awful. Yeah. So he was witness to all of this. And clearly that has affected him. And who wouldn't affect? These were young children and adults that were just gunned down. Later on, they were assigned to cover the funerals, which he did cover a couple of the funerals. And this was because the family, and he said at this time he knew nothing about Alex Jones, nothing. But apparently the family was getting death threats because of the Alex Jones defamation that was occurring, that started on the very day of the shooting. So he did a couple of the funerals. Now I'm still thinking, how is this guy a plaintiff? So here, at this point, they put up a photograph, and I'm going to show you the photograph. You'll see in the photograph he does not have his FBI badge. Now, one of the things Alex Jones was espousing is that these were crisis actors. These were not real FBI agents. See, this guy doesn't even have a badge on. And doesn't he look just like Mr. Wheeler? Now, Mr. Wheeler is the father of one of the victims. Don't they look exactly like? Alex Jones would spend hours putting one image over the other image, comparing them. It's both the same actor. So over the last 10 years of this FBI agent's career, he has been accused of being a crisis actor, not a real FBI agent. He has received numerous death threats. He's had to go to, he first started out with the FBI Employee Assistance Program, and then continued on with psychology or psychologist after that. But so mental anguish, there you have it, death threats. He's afraid for his family. He says they didn't have anything to do with this, and they're getting death threats. He says these people are a bunch of nutbags. And he actually said that. These people are a bunch of nutbags. It was very interesting. So he was on the stand for the majority of the day. So then they were left with like just a small portion of the day where the judge was not going to let them go. She's like, nope, we're going to keep going. So now they're scrambling. Well, who do we put on? Who do we put on? So they put on the sister of one of the victims. She was 12 years old at the time. She was looking for her sister. And that testimony just got started when they wrapped up for the day. So what happened this day in history? Well, Francis Scott Key in 1814, he penned a poem called The Star-Spangled Banner, which was later put to music. Francis witnessed Fort McHenry being bombed by the British during the War of 1812. He was inspired by the sight of the lone U.S. flag hanging, still waving in the breeze after the dust settled. And this was reflected in the words of the Star-Spangled Banner, which are, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Beautiful poem, beautiful poem. All right, guys, that is the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe. Like I said, absolutely free. Don't charge you a thing. And please share this with someone you know that might enjoy having something to listen to while they craft. I will see you tonight in Crafting and Crime Daily, 6 p.m. Central. Take care, everybody. Love you all.